Everyone's muted with their cameras off. I feel so alone.
Hey, brother.
We're live.
We are. We got just another minute.
How you doing, Michael?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Whereabouts in this country do you live?
Oklahoma, about 20 minutes east of Oklahoma City.
Is it true what they say about Oklahoma?
There's many things they say about Oklahoma. Which one?
Oklahoma is okay.
Yeah, today it is. It's all about 80 degrees here, so it's a little warmer than we're used to in February.
Yeah, I've got one of the guys I served with in the Marine Corps was from Broken Arrow. I think he's back in Oklahoma now. He's bounced all over the South since he's gotten out, so. Good times.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So it's 1 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. I want to respect everybody's time who's here. Respect your time for taking the time to come in and do this presentation. For everybody who's out there, thank you for taking the time to join the meeting or to watch live. We're live streaming on YouTube as well. So today in the Emergency Management Leadership Mastermind, we're actually going to be hearing from Brian Colburn, who's going to continue his second part of a 3-part series on branding, on coaching, on mentoring. So I'm looking forward to what's coming. We have some great things coming for announcements, so stick around towards the end so I could fill you in on some stuff. Brian, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you all for chiming back in here. I first want to introduce myself. My name is Brian. As Dan said, I am the owner-operator of Sitch Radio. We're a full-service podcast production studio. In addition to that, I am a content creators coach and have stood up a content creator kind of networking site called The Accountables. I've been in this space for a while now. I hate to say how long sometimes. Everything's podcasting so new, but no, it's not. But that aside, business-wise, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to work. My first real job was going to work for a large global brand called Pioneer Stereo, if you can remember that. And I've kind of, I don't want to say I've bounced. I've had the opportunity to work for some really good companies. And one thing I learned early on was to find that person to mentor me. And today we are going to be talking about that. So I'm going to start sharing my screen so we can hide my mug and go from there. That was strange. Let me figure out what went on there. We'll switch to that. Now everyone should be able to see the webinar. Slide deck, hopefully. If so, if you can give me a yes in chat, that'd be greatly appreciated. I want to make sure.
We can see it.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd. As Dan said, this is part 2. Last week, we talked about personal branding and the importance of. I hope some of you have taken the time to take a look at your online brand, your persona, if you will, and have started putting together a plan, if not enacted, ensuring Facebook is similar to Twitter, is similar to LinkedIn, etc., so people don't have a hard time navigating back and forth. That was, hopefully that was your homework assignment, if you will. But with that having been said, today we are talking about building an effective mentorship relationship. And there's going to be a theme throughout this. And I'm going to get to that in a second. Again, this is going to be interactive. Please make sure you have your phones handy. There's going to be some QR codes splashed on the screen, and I'll give you ample time to download or get that opened up in a browser so you can download the resource. There are 3 of them for this presentation. But I want to start with mentorship, and I'm getting confused, so I'm going to kill my video feed so I'm not seeing myself and a slide deck and everyone watching a slide deck. And if I can find the tools really quick. The tools aren't there. Anyway, I guess I won't. We'll muscle through. So, a mentorship. Basically, what somebody looks for in a mentor is someone who has more experience, more industry knowledge, that can guide them through their journey, whether it be industry specific or side hustle specific, if you will. And that mentor is going to guide them, answer questions, make recommendations and suggestions, etc. Along with this presentation, I've got a few stories I am going to share with you. But right now, the benefits of being a mentor, and I encourage everyone to become a mentor to somebody outside of family, outside of personal friendships. In addition to that, we're going to talk about being a mentee, which I feel is also very, very important. But when you're a mentor, you can see on screen that there's some benefits of being that mentor, that sharing your knowledge, which might keep things fresh in your mind, enhancing your leadership skills. It's an opportunity to give back and expand your professional network. And I really want to emphasize this theme. It's a time and opportunity for you to practice becoming a better speaker, organizing a presentation, practicing different communication styles, practicing different approaches, and really fine-tune your personal skills. Your mentee might not know that you're even doing that, but it's a great opportunity to hone your own skills. So think of every meeting with a mentee as you're learning as well. You're experimenting with different communication styles. So keep that in mind. It is a great opportunity to practice. Now, 5 or so years ago, I received a notification on LinkedIn. LinkedIn actually ran a mentorship mentee program to where I could say, yes, I'll be a mentor. And people looking for mentors could see people who volunteered to mentor and reach out to them and establish a relationship. I don't believe they're running it anymore. I can't find it if they are. But a gentleman by the name of Jay Alba, whom a few of you now know that are on this webinar, have been introduced to Jay, and he asked if I would mentor him. And he was a professional videographer and photographer, but needed a little guidance when it came to the business aspect of the profession. Jay and I are still friends to this day. The opportunity to break bread with him is far too seldom. I enjoy his time and his company. And throughout the last 5 years, he kind of mentors me now on certain aspects of things. And one of them I'm going to point out, it's my personal appearance when I'm presenting. And I want to apologize for my appearance today. I was in a motor vehicle accident. It's still hard to tie my shoes because of some of the injury I sustained. And if nobody is aware, California's on Storm Watch 2024, and it's a little cold outside. It's in the high 60s, so I had to wear a vest and a beanie today. It's cold for us here. I was hoping for at least a smile, but we'll move on. But he's turned into a mentor to me in certain aspects. His profession has progressed from just still photography and videography into becoming a personal branding expert, if you will. He probably should have given the talk last week. You might have learned a little more. However, I had the opportunity to spend time with you. His knowledge and imparting that on myself is really elevating my game when it comes to that. And I'm grateful for that. In addition, we still talk shop. We still talk business. we still communicate on, Brian, I'm having a hard time with a difficult customer. How would you handle this? And it's been an awesome relationship. That relationship has grown into expanding our networks, as discussed here on this slide. Todd DeVoe, who's on this call, and Dan Scott, and a few of you might have met him at the last IEM conference if you were there. He was hanging out with Todd and Dan in the booth that they had there. But that expanding the professional network, I think a lot of mentors get into it as, I'm going to impart wisdom and knowledge on this individual, without taking the time to realize that they can learn and their network can grow and they can practice communication styles during these relationships as well. So, Jay, I don't know if you're on this webinar or not today, but if you are, I appreciate you, brother. And I look forward to seeing you here in a couple of weeks when you're visiting Cali. Make the most of any relationship you establish online as a mentor or a mentee. So moving on to the next slide. This is benefits of being a mentee. Accelerated learning, career guidance, network opportunities, increased confidence. And this QR code takes you to a separate download. And all of these downloads have been provided by LinkedIn. I was getting ready to build some checklists out, and I said, why am I recreating their wheel? They're pretty good at connecting people over there at LinkedIn, so I'm relaying you to some of their resources. I do not want to, for a second, think that I created those. They are LinkedIn, but there's some great information on them. Now, being a mentee, I had the opportunity to step into a role at a company that I was working at as a salesman. I'd never been a salesman. My wife worked at a company at the time, and they had a crushing sales staff. These guys were professional salesmen that loved their jobs. And one of the gentlemen's name was Mike Gorman. And I'd gotten to know Mike at a couple social events, and I'm trying to navigate this new world of sales. So I reached out to Mike and said, Mike, I'd really like to have lunch with you someday. What's a good day and time? And during that first lunch with him, I set up a monthly reoccurring appointment with him for lunch down the street from his office. I made it super easy for him. I drove to him. I bought him lunch once a month. And unbeknownst to him, he was being my mentor. And we never established a formal mentee-mentor relationship. But I went into that with a plan and an agenda to extract information from this professional 30-plus year sales rep to improve my game. And for those of you who know me, I love playing poker. I love the interactions with people and playing mind games with people, if you will. So I got a kick out of the fact that this guy was being my mentor and didn't even realize it. And we met for about 8 months. I extracted so much information that I was able to act on and really improved and increased this new career path I chose of being a salesman. So I want, again, for you to walk away from this saying, yes, I can give somebody an hour every other week or an hour a week and be a mentor to practice my communication skills and impart some of my wisdom on somebody. But look for a mentor. I'm a firm believer that we should all have mentors in our lives because we don't know what we don't know. If they've been around a lot longer than we have, they're going to be able to impart some wisdom and guide us through difficult times. And it's a great way to, again, accelerate that learning curve, maybe avoid some pitfalls that we might fall into. The benefits can be numerous, and we may have the opportunity to get exposed to their network. So I moved my studio from up the street, which was a great place, down a couple of miles, and I sublet from a gentleman named Charles Antis, and he owns a company called Antis Roofing. And he has built his company and positioned himself now more as a philanthropist than the guy that owns the roofing company. He spends more of his time doing good for the communities that he serves on numerous boards. He's at that CEO level that I would love to be at someday. And him and I now have a standing appointment once a month for breakfast. And I get to ask him questions, and he's exposed me to his network. And I've met people like Wing Lam, the owner operator of Wahoo's Fish Taco. I was able to meet some awesome staff from KLOS Radio who happened to be in on a meeting I had the opportunity to sit in on for his side of the business. It's amazing the people that we get exposed to. Now, it's been a reciprocal relationship. I've kind of been guiding him and his journey on becoming more of a content creator than he is. Right now, his content's revolved around the roofing industry and his philanthropic work. However, he wants to create a show. So this breakfast meeting that we have is an exchange of ideas. I get to learn more about being a CEO at his level, and he gets to learn how to become a better presenter. And it's been a wonderful relationship. So not only do I try to mentor, I try to mentee. And again, this is another great time to practice. If you have a new elevator pitch, run it by your mentor. If you are thinking about doing something on social media, conceptualize that. Put some wireframes together or an outline and talk to your mentor about that. But you get to practice what you are doing or what you want to do with your mentor and get live feedback. Now, these relationships, you know what? I'm going to pause and move on. Hopefully everyone was able to grab that QR code. Defining or let me rephrase. Finding that right mentor mentee. I have another story for this one. But when you go into a relationship as a mentor or a mentee, everyone knows by now I'm a planner, there should be some defined objectives. Everything that I've researched says seek desired personalities. My input and the story I'm getting ready to share is the or not. And we'll get back to that. Looking for diverse perspectives. It's very, very important. And I don't want to bring race into it, and I'm not bringing race, as you might think, into this, but the Asian community right now is severely underserved in the podcasting industry. I am doing everything I can to talk to anybody from Asia about content creation, what content they consume. I want to have a show under my belt that serves that community. So there's that aspect of it too, that diverse perspective. I do not have a mentor or mentee that is from Asia. However, if that opportunity presented itself, I would probably jump at it because I want to learn from them for my business aspirations as well. And establish clear expectations. You know, these meetings can quickly turn into a complaint box hanging on the wall. They need to be constructive or nobody's going to gain from them. There really needs to be expectations. I'm going to get out of this relationship X. I am going to give X, and that goes both ways. So the or not. Back to that previous story when I was a sales rep, I'm now dealing with people on a national level, not just on the West Coast. And I'm sure if anybody's from New York, like Todd DeVoe, he'll probably agree to this. People from the East Coast, especially up north, can come off a little abrasive, in my opinion. But I've learned over the years that that's just the way they are. They're no nonsense people. They speak what's on their mind. And I've grown to respect that because of a mentor I sought out. His name is Ty Coronado. He is a New Jersey state trooper. I had the pleasure of serving him as a salesman and was able to meet him on a couple of occasions in North Carolina for some conferences. But I really had sidebar conversations with him about that and about how people from the West Coast, I shouldn't say people, I'm generalizing. Some people from the West Coast perceive people from New York as abrasive. And I'm using New York loosely here, from the upper Northeast. And really finding those fine-tuned points of that's just my perception. There's nothing wrong with the way they're communicating. And at the end of the day, it's my choice of whether to take offense or not take offense. But these conversations I had with Ty really opened my eyes up to don't take offense, number one. Number two, push back a little bit if you feel you need to. It's okay. And I really benefited from that relationship and was able to serve other customers in the region much more efficiently because I didn't take offense and I didn't think of it as short anymore or brash. I just thought of it as that's who they are and it's okay. They probably, were talking crap about me being a little laid back, which is fine as well. But that conversation or the conversations I had with Ty in that relationship was one of those diversity calls for me and helped me grow. In addition, that's that desired personality or not. I wasn't seeking Ty out because we had the same personality and communication styles. I sought him out because we had similar interests and wildly different communication styles, but I wanted to understand his a little more better. We'll leave it there. Glad this isn't an English presentation. Structuring that relationship. I encourage that these relationships have a regular meeting time in place. Knowing life happens, some things will need to get rescheduled. However, they shouldn't be missed. So if you can't meet this Thursday, what's Friday looking like? Or maybe we can grab just a quick call on a Saturday. But that repetitiveness on a schedule creates habit. And you'll find yourself preparing for the next meeting. And that's just going to maximize the benefit you get from it. Goal setting. If I'm spending time with Ty to understand different communication styles, what's my goal at the end of that? Well, my goal was to understand communication styles that I've never been exposed to before, so I could then in turn better communicate and serve that customer base. That goal was achieved and I was better for it. Feedback. This is one of those things where it needs to be spoken, that not everything a mentor says to a mentee is going to be received well or accepted. However, we can't take offense to it. We can't have our feathers ruffled because we heard something that we don't agree with. We might not agree with it now, but in 6 months we might go, oh yeah, that's what they were talking about. I understand now. So taking notes, getting that feedback, extracting the pieces from that feedback that we can quickly implement and improve ourselves is paramount. But the feedback we get that we're not ready to receive, we still should make note of that in some sort of journal that we're going to reflect back on from time to time, because we might have grown to gain an understanding and go, yes, I completely understand that now. Let me implement some of these changes so I can better myself for it. And then mutual respect. Time is such, Dan, you say it so well, that time is one of those things that is precious. I appreciate each and every one of you on this call, and I'm not here to waste your time. But having that respect of time, the respect of culture, the respect of opinion. You're going to have uncomfortable conversations from time to time with a mentor or mentee. And it's okay. And it's another great opportunity to practice that delivery. You can deliver bad news with a smile on your face and it doesn't sting as much. But spending a little time on crafting that message maybe so it is better received, therefore it's going to get acted upon, that would be the ultimate goal. But there has to be a mutual respect, or it's just going to turn into an argument, which is going to turn into a failed relationship, and none of the benefits we've spoken about previously are going to be had. So we definitely want to do that. And goal setting, have goals. I had goals with Mike about becoming a better salesman. I've had goals with Ty about understanding communication styles. I had goals with Jay and growing that network. He's much younger than I, so having access to a younger demographic has been beneficial for me as a business owner. His age demographic is who's excelling in podcasting right now, and him being able to refer people to me has been an awesome blessing as well. So let's move on. Here's the third and final big takeaway download from LinkedIn: overcoming common challenges. I guess I kind of got into that a little bit, but we'll pick it up here. Respecting time, communication gaps. If there are, that's okay. Let's figure out why. Let's figure out how to close that gap so it doesn't happen again. Unrealistic expectations. My mentor isn't here to do my job for me. My mentor isn't here to draft emails for me. They're here to guide me. And I'm looking to them for that guidance because they have the time and tenure and experience in that industry, whatever industry that may be, of why I chose them to be my mentor. So expectations really need to be kept in line. If you're looking for a best friend, that shouldn't be a mentor or mentee. Personal relationships aside, this needs to be looked on as a business relationship, and acted as a business relationship. So it's okay to talk about expectations with your mentor or mentee and make sure those things do align. One thing, and I know Todd's heard this, Dan's heard this, when you're mentoring or being mentored, I'm surprised I haven't blown that yet. Go one question past comfortable. And this has served many, many show hosts well under our tutelage here at the station, because that's where some of the biggest growth is going to happen. It's okay to start off with some softball questions and ramp up, but asking that one question that may be a little uncomfortable is okay if asked appropriately. And again, that's where the majority of the growth is going to be. And Todd has deployed that technique several times in a lot of the interviews he did when EM Weekly was in production with Todd as the host. So one question past comfortable as a mentor or mentee, because it is about growth. It definitely is about growth. And again, time to practice. This is a great opportunity to practice. We are at the Q&A section of this presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen after I give you a minute or two. If you are new to Brian Colburn, this is where you can find me. I'll give you a second to scan that QR code, and then I will stop sharing and we can open up for some Q&A. And my question to all of you right now out of the gate is, are you a mentor or are you a mentee currently? I invite you all to come off mute or use the chat Well, there's chat, or use the chat.
I'm both.
And you mentor whom, if you don't mind sharing, and you're mentored by, if you don't mind sharing?
Um,
And you can't say Dan Scott.
Well, no, that's true though. No, I think where it comes into play is, I mean, obviously I'm a college professor as well, so I have students that I mentor. Um, I have other up and coming emergency management professionals that I mentor. Um, and then I seek mentorship. Yeah, I seek mentorship. Yes, I seek mentor. It's hard to say sometimes. Sometimes I'm a mentor, sometimes I'm the mentee.
Tell me about it. I just went through 30 minutes of mentor, mentee, mentor, mentee.
Yeah. Um, but no, I mean, like, I seek mentorship from my peers, such as you, Brian, and Dan, and Andrew. Um, Mark Baker, who's on right now. And then I think sometimes I get it the other way too, right? Like, Mark is a
Yeah.
good example. You know, I'm
Actually, I'd like to interrupt. Are you seeking guidance, or is this a formal mentee mentor relationship? Or is it just occasional guidance?
I see it as both. I don't think there's like another formal like okay, I went through a formal mentorship program when I was a professor, college professor, first starting out. They assigned a college professor who's been around for a long time to kind of walk you through, you know, what it is to use a rubric and all that kind of stuff, and sort of checking in on you to make sure, you know, talk about lesson plans and things like this, right? When you first start off, almost like a FTO kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you're looking at things that you're doing on a regular basis, right? So, as example, asking questions like Andrew, I'm going to pick on him for a minute. You know, he went through the book writing process and getting it through and all of that thing. As I'm looking at guidance on what that was like, I will talk to Andrew about that. And that's really realistically, whether it's officially called a mentorship or not, is he's mentoring me through that process,
Yep.
right? Because he's got the experience and he's able to kind of help you go through those landmines. You know, so whether it's an official, you're my mentor and I laid out a contract with you, or if it's a unofficial, you know, leaning on your friends for advice. And I think that's the same concept, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. What's one of the biggest things you've taken away from being a mentor?
I try to learn as much from the people who I'm helping out, as I'm hoping they're learning from me. And it's definitely a two-way street. And the there are times when your communication has to be pretty spot on, because there's times when you fail at communication, and then asking those follow-up questions of like, okay, are you understanding? And I know sometimes it drives you crazy, Brian, because when I'm talking to you on things and I don't think that you're getting it, I do the whole college professor 3 different ways of explanation, you know, and you're like,
Yes, you
stop,
do.
you know, stop academic explaining me, you say to me, you know, um, but I do that because I want to make sure I'm communicating properly and that there isn't a miscommunication in the conversation,
Yeah.
you know. And it also helps me learn to ask good questions, you know, when you're seeking guidance. And I think we get caught up in this concept of mentorship in the sense of like it's some sort of program, right? So like IAM, or in California we have the CISA conference. CISA has like these mentorship programs where they're pairing up a seasoned emergency manager with an aspiring emergency manager, and it's like some sort of, it doesn't necessarily have to be that formal. I mean, it can be, right? I was with these examples I just gave, but it doesn't have to be that formal. Um, but I think as you are, and Mark, I'm going to pick on you for a minute. I mean, like, you are a leader of men in the United States Army as a staff NCO. You know, it's, you know, our military mentorship might have come across harsh and hard, you know, but what we were doing is making sure our troops and the guys who worked underneath us weren't going to fail when it came time to be in the most stressful time of your life, you know. So whether we
Absolutely.
called it mentorship or whether we called it leadership, um, you know, I think we can interchange those words sometimes.
Has anybody else been in a mentor or mentee ship and would like to share a big takeaway?
I will, on the heels of what Todd had to say, I mean, I look at some of the folks in the room here certainly as mentors in certain aspects. And yeah, sometimes it's more formal, sometimes it's less formal, like when I reach out for guidance. I did have a more structured sort of mentor-mentee relationship going back now probably close to 25 years ago. I worked with someone who was a senior executive at ITT, which, for most folks who are listening, ITT, like, the folks who are younger than us probably have never really heard much of ITT, but ITT was a huge company back in the day. Um, and he was actually one of the senior executives reporting to the CEO. And I relied on him as a family friend. He was someone who helped to coach me and mentor me. He was also sort of on an advisory board that I had pulled together. But I would speak to him about starting a new venture, what I needed to know, how I needed to sort of bootstrap things. And I appreciated his advice. We would speak on the phone probably once every 2 weeks or so. Uh, and I think that, I think there was a sort of a given mutual respect. I mean, I had a lot of respect for, his reputation, his experience. He's always very, calm and sort of even-handed in terms of, his guidance.
That's awesome. And the red sweater looks awesome with that background, dude.
Thank
I'm
you.
being serious. It's a nice pop.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. This is, by the way, if you see that logo, I taught a course for another organization and I did not log out, so I apologize if you're seeing that logo appear on occasion. So,
Yeah, I haven't noticed. Is it Ginny? What would you like to ask or offer? Oh, yeah, you should be able to come off mute.
Trouble unmuting. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
There we go. Okay, can you hear me now?
We can.
Awesome. Thanks. Sorry, I'm on mobile and walking around. So I've been both a mentee, mostly mentee, but have started to get into roles where people are asking for mentorships. And what I've found when I was studying emergency management, a profession that is your 100%, goal, and having those deep formal mentorships where you are really learning the skills of this really dynamic role is powerful. And as a young mentee, what I wish I had more of a grasp of, and I'm so thankful that my mentors did give me this, was they set up goals with me. Like the first day was, all right, what are the goals we're going to accomplish here? And what are the timelines of those goals? And then put an end of like an expectation. All right, we're going to do this mentorship for 3 months. Right. So they gave me as a young mentee some like, okay, I have to get stuff done by this point. So being really, really clear on when the mentorship is going to end, because naively, as a young person, we sometimes think, oh, we're going to be mentors forever and best friends. And right, it is much more helpful to have a clarity on that. The other, flip side is if you're someone who's doing really dynamic things in multiple sectors, having a deep mentorship that's really formal with one person may not be as conducive as potentially having like mini mentorships. And that kind of looks like, smaller moments, more specific mentorships and focuses that maybe it kind of classifies more into consulting, but what I've found is it's something along the lines of, hi, you're an expert in this realm, and I deal with X, Y, and Z that is kind of specific to your realm. I have questions around these types of things. Can I pick your brain, or can I, gradually ask something, or ask things about you? And with many mentorships, you also have the opportunity of like co-producing, right? So you're learning from them, but they also feel like I'm getting something out of this too, like I'm creating something together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's been kind of a cool, thing that I've seen.
Absolutely. And don't think that, and I'm not just speaking to you Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Jeannie? Jeannie?
That's right.
Jeannie?
Yep, Jenny.
Awesome.
Mhm.
You know, everybody, this is for everybody. Don't think that a mentor has to be in your industry, in your niche. What is your 5-year plan? If your 5-year plan involves mastering a skill or something that's outside of your current industry, seek that mentor. That's going to accelerate. That might take that 5-year plan and bring it down to 4, 3, 2.5. You know, you never know. So don't think so linear when it comes to, you know, what do I want to find a mentor to mentor me on? And on that same note, you know, I was in the audio production space when the photographer, videographer reaches out to me to mentor, but it was more for the business aspects of what he was doing, not, you know, the product of what he was doing. So, you know, we have the opportunity to think outside the box and go from there. And, you know, Todd, Dan, you guys have heard this. Don't think small. If you want to be mentored by somebody in emergency management, how many of you have reached out to FEMA's director? Is it still she, Todd? Will she take the time? Who knows, but maybe she'll make a recommendation. You know, I doubt she gets very many calls for, hey, you know, I'd like, you know, guidance on a regular basis. You never know. If you ask, you just might get it. And then what better resume pad to have that, you know, you were a mentee of an acting sitting administrator. So don't think, I hate to use the term small, don't think of your local area emergency manager. If you're city, county, or if you're county, state, you know, shoot for the moon or stars, get the moon, however that saying goes. Anybody else like to share? I see no hands. I'll give people a second.
Yeah, I can weigh in just a little bit when it
Awesome.
comes to mentorship and so being either being a mentor or a mentee. This is kind of an area that I'm a huge advocate for, uh, especially for the last 5 years. But or more than that, really. But for the last 5 years, I've been an active mentor to people. But I think it goes back to that intention that's there, and then identifying that is key. There are those that you walk into a relationship with them knowing that it's a mentor-mentee relationship. I've approached people and asked them point blank, I would like for you to mentor me. And then there's others that you just kind of emulate or observe or learn from, that you consider them a mentor at some level that it may not be as official. Mentorship can be very short term, or it can be extremely long term. And I think it's really based on that relationship up front and your willingness to continue to learn from someone, be coached, or and grow, or whether or not you're working on a particular area and you want to, you know, be mentored in a specific area, which happens. Can you mentor me through this project? Can you mentor me in this specific area? Can you mentor me for whatever reason? Or there could be more of a life type of mentor where you're actually trying to emulate and learn from their experiences so that you can emulate that along the way. And that's more of a long-term thing. So, but I'm a huge proponent of it. I think, especially in emergency management, I think it's an area that we're lacking as far as mentorship goes. And I think just like anywhere else, you come out of college thinking you might know it, but you don't really know it until you do it. And a mentor helps you get there.
I tell everybody I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. You know, I love learning, and I love learning from other people's real world experiences. You know, you can read a book and get some book knowledge, but I feel the next step is getting that hands-on knowledge from somebody who's actually experienced it. And I challenge all of you, you know, be a mentee, find that mentor, or if you're uncomfortable being a mentor, definitely find a few people to mentor you, and get a grasp of the inner workings of a mentor-mentee relationship and, plan, write those expectations down, set goals, and gain that confidence and one day pay it back and become a mentor to somebody. Especially in a field like emergency management. You guys, it's a lot of book knowledge, it's a lot of theory, and it seems like every time a disaster happens, that city, county, state's looking for a new emergency manager because the last one got fired. Find that mentor who survived, who's able to keep their job after a disaster. And that's someone to learn from. Most definitely. Dan, that's all I have if nobody's got anything else for me.
Hey, real quick, Brian. And,
Yeah.
and Michael, what do you think? What is somebody who you're looking forward to maybe being mentored from or maybe mentoring?
So actually, when I left the state health department, I was actually apparently a mentor to some people, and I didn't know it. After I left, they kind of explained through channels to me about like what I did for them when I became director of our program and all that. And I had no idea because they never explained it to me that way. And so it was kind of, oh, okay, well then I didn't even look at it that way. But it was kind of interesting to see that perspective. As a mentee, I thought I had a mentor back when I started in emergency management, and that person just didn't work out. Our personalities were not the same in the direction we thought emergency management was going. And so that kind of didn't work out. So I haven't really had anyone to mentor me that I feel like officially in that capacity. I've looked up to some people, and I've kind of used the great world of YouTube and some other things to kind of leadership styles and things like that to look at. But right now, not really looked at it in the last couple months since I left the health department. So yeah, it's kind of one area. I've actually asked Dan to help me because I've looked at doing like the CEM or AEM program because I've never done that. And I know he's kind of done that program and has helped others. So I've kind of talked to him about that on the side conversation. But outside that, not much else, Todd.
Thanks, Michael, for sharing. And Mark, same question to you. I know you're driving, but if you can talk and drive.
Nope, I'm here and safe. So on the topic of mentorship, it's been a very valuable growth tool. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Mark.
Okay, so make sure. So very important growth tool, and as far as reaching out to. So my philosophy has been reaching out to as many within reason mentors as possible to kind of solicit their mentorship from across the gamut of emergency management. I got folks here locally in the local emergency management community. I've networked with really well and I rely on, and then I got specific mentors who are well versed in the exercise arena. That's kind of my interest, training and exercise, and I pull on them from time to time, and then of course the international. I mean, that's what kind of motivated me to. I forget how we linked up. I think it was LinkedIn, Todd, but just the fact that you were all the way on the West Coast, it just kind of piqued my interest because taking the perspective from someone across the countries in emergency management and then seeing the unique challenges and I don't know techniques and processes out there, just kind of putting everything together, I think is important. And then on the flip side to mentoring, being a mentor now, my primary focus is transitioning soldiers because that's kind of where I came from. I'm trying to mentor as many as I can as far as navigating that process from getting out of the military and into the EM field. I'm kind of paying it back, so to speak. I didn't have that wasn't there when I came out, and it's a gap I'm trying to at least fill locally for now. But no, I think mentorship is huge. I also see it like teaching, right? That's why I teach. My biggest drive and motivator for teaching is to learn a subject better. I appreciate the fact that I'm conveying new information to the students and presenting new ideas and theories out there, but ultimately it's a little bit selfish, but it helps me learn better. Same thing, mentoring. I'm not going to go and have an appointment with my mentee and not know what I'm talking about. So it forces me to do a little extra research before we have that conversation to make sure I'm not speaking falsely, at least. So I appreciate that. It's a little bit stressful. All right, it's a little bit stressful because you want to be right and give the right advice. But as I've seen, when they successfully negotiate that navigation between active duty into land a success, good entry point, entry level emergency management gig, or in some cases, way better and higher than I landed. But it's rewarding in that aspect. I just think that the um, mentorship uh, program process is an invaluable step in growth. I think no matter what you want to do, find someone who's been there. Don't just take anybody. Do your research, fill them out, make sure they're compatible, and then continue conversations. It is a relationship, give and take. So you got to approach it as so.
Absolutely. Well put, Mark. Well put. 150. We've got a little time. Dan, I don't know if you have anything for the masses, but I'll take this opportunity. In 2 weeks will be day 3 with me, and we're going to be talking about coaching. We're going to briefly talk about how mentoring is different than coaching, and talking about having a coach and or becoming a coach. So I look forward to that as well. And again, thank you all for attending. You guys have means to get a hold of me if need be offline. Appreciate that. And Dan, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Brian, again, for taking the time to talk with us and teach us and have this discussion. It's truly appreciated. For everybody here, we have multiple things coming up. Andrew, you have a question?
I was just clapping virtually.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it looked like a hand. So next week, we're actually going to be hearing from Michael. He's going to take the reins and talk to us. I will be coming live. Actually, myself and Todd will be coming in live from Las Vegas, from the Nevada Emergency Preparedness Association's conference. So we're going to be coming live from there. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm a speaker. Todd's a keynote there. So I'm looking forward to getting that as well. I'll be recording that. So next week, we're going to hear from Michael. The following week, we'll hear from Brian. One thing I have not put out a lot of information on yet, but we're doing the 4-hour half-day workshop on March 15th. So we'll look forward to that. And then we're going to have the next summit is coming in April. So a lot going on, a lot of dates to consider. I apologize, my voice is going out again. But we have a lot going on, a lot to consider. Look out for emails. For all those who are here, I apologize profusely about the continual issues that were coming with the Google Calendar. I fixed that so that the invitation is now coming from Zoom, and you can put it on your Google Calendar. So whenever I make changes, it won't affect your calendar. So I apologize for that. I don't know why it was sending so many emails. I was telling it not to, but it was continuing to do that. So I actually think we lost some people because of that. So I'll try and regain that and move forward from that. Moving on, we have, as I've mentioned a couple of times, please, if you know people who would be interested in the program, in partaking in this weekly meeting and summits and half-day workshops, or would you think there might be someone for us to consider as a speaker, please reach out. Based on last week's conversation and the preemptive surveying and Q&A, I have a lot of people lined up. I just got to get them dates scheduled on the calendar. So lots coming this year, and a lot of that will be in help from you in making sure that we're staying on topic, that we know what you're looking for, and that you are letting me know what you want so that I can try and fill that need. So I appreciate that very much. Again, Brian, thank you. Andrew, thank you. Michael, I look forward to hearing from you. For all those that are not on video right now, thank you for joining. Truly appreciate it. I will continue to try and push that and push the meetings and remind the reminders without being too um, bug in your ear, without trying to irritate you too much. But sometimes with our busy schedules, those reminders need to come on a regular basis in order to remind you that, hey, that's supposed to happen today because I forgot or I'm busy or whatever. That's why they're there. It's not to be a nuisance or not to be irritating, but there's a reason that they suggest doing these things when it comes to the day before, the day of, right when you go live, or that you tell people you're doing it because they forget, get preoccupied. And my goal is to try and keep attendance up. We had a great attendance today. So thank you so much. My goal is to have 100 people attending these weekly meetings by the end of the year. And we were almost 10% there. So thank you so much.